All right, so when we first get into an analysis, we're going to think about two things: the time period, what was happening during that time, and then now that we know that, we're going to have a question or a prompt that's going to help us guide through. And so this is thinking about the treatment for mental health issues during this time and how that relates to women's health. And if you don't know, then a quick Google search will suffice. So after taking a look at these excerpts here, I want us to think about what picture is painted about the narrator's mental health. To look at a pattern on the wall and to see violent images of broken necks and wide eyes staring back at you, where does your mental health have to be? Where does your mind have to be in order to have that type of thought process? But also notice how inside of the third excerpt, there's a little bit of a change, almost as though the narrator is in agreement with the condition that she's being kept in and almost thankful for it. And think about what she compares herself to. She says, I can stand it so much easier than a baby. Think about the role that her language plays and how that creates a representation of her thought process and where her mental health is. Alrighty, so here we have a slide that has multiple different questions to kind of guide us through the analysis process. And we also have a little bit of background information. First off, this is a short story, The Yellow Wallpaper by Charlotte Perkins Gilman, published in 1899. Just the very edge of the 1800s. Alrighty. So we have a few questions here. What implications do we see about her life? We're talking about the main character here. What could her experiences be compared to? What was happening in the late 1800s and early 1900s historically? What events, what movements, right? Next, what type of building would have barred windows and why? And then why would a person be discouraged from creativity? These are very specific questions, yes, and you're not always going to have those, but these are going to help you formulate an idea of what's going on, which is the basis of an analysis. So we're on the right track here. Okay, now, so after taking a look at these excerpts, we're going to see a couple of patterns here, okay? Now notice in the first and the last excerpt, it talks about children, okay? John references her as though she's a little girl. And then she also says that the room that she's in used to be a nursery for children. So think about how would a person have to be viewed for you to put them in a room that children are normally in or that you think the children are in. But also pay attention to the fact that the windows are barred. What type of building would have barred windows? And then another thing, second excerpt talks about how he does not want her to write. Why wouldn't you want someone to be able to express their thoughts on pen and paper? And then also talking about the color of this wallpaper and how much the narrator despises it. Think about how all that plays a role in our mental health. Alrighty, so here we have some more prompt questions, but this one is in reference to Ain't I a Woman by Sojourner Truth. And if you don't know who Sojourner Truth is, this is going to be the part where I encourage you to go find that out. Quick Google search. Alrighty, we have a couple questions here. Think about what was happening in the 1850s. Why was Sojourner working? Why was Sojourner treated differently than the character in The Yellow Wallpaper? See, now we're going to intertwine these two. Sojourner does the same work as men, however, she does not have the same rights as men. Why? And then who is Sojourner Truth and what did she advocate for? Okay, and after taking a full look at these excerpts, we're going to see a couple of things. And the first is our narrator, Sojourner Truth, starts off by comparing what she can do to what men can do. And they're exactly the same. Okay? Now, she also, right up under that, she talks about a comment that a person in the audience made, because this is a speech, about how women need to be helped, how women need to be treated differently. And in the quote next to it, she says that she doesn't get that special treatment. Why wouldn't she receive that special treatment? And then also, she goes back at the top again, talking about her experiences. So from her perspective, she does what men do. And she does not get treated the same way that other women get treated. Think about the socioeconomic context that creates that climate for her. Now, after looking at all the excerpts, we're going to think about these few questions and prompt pieces. First, how are the historical contexts playing a role in each of their experiences? Because these women are from the exact same century, but their experiences definitely do differ. And then also, next question talks about why. Why does one of these women have an experience where she's being coddled in a very harmful way, and the other one have an experience where she doesn't get any type of special treatment or recognition because she's a woman? And then also compare their perspectives and their views and their viewpoints on womanhood. And then also, why would the authors have spoken the way that they did? Think about, again, the era that they're coming in. Why would the author of The Yellow Wallpaper have blown up the character into such an over-exaggeration about what happened to her? And also, why did Sojourner Truth title her speech, "Ain't I a Woman?" And think about the things that she mentioned in her excerpt. All of this helps bring us to an overall conclusion that would help you write any type of analysis, whether it's in a discussion forum or an essay format or just a simple assignment for analysis. All right, so at the end of our analysis, there are a couple of things that I just want you to take away. Number one, whenever you are looking at these different analysis pieces, especially if you have two works that you're comparing, the first thing that you want to do is separate the two. You want to read both of these and then draw your conclusions about them. Next, you're going to analyze. What is the author really trying to get at? Yes, we see what's happening on the surface, but what is happening underneath? What's that grand takeaway? Next, connect. Make a connection between the two. What do the authors have in common? What do the experiences of the characters or the narrators have in common? Where do they both come together? And then also, next, you're going to answer any questions that were asked. So simple things. What was the context? Where was this happening? Why would this have been important during that time period? Knowing the social climate is incredibly important. And then also concluding. So if you're asked any type of question for a prompt, or they say talk about the relationship between these two or compare and contrast them, this is your part to wrap up everything that you've done. Take every piece of information that you've gathered from these works and piece it together on that compare and contrast note, or wrap up your thoughts on how you think that they're representative of their time. I hope you enjoyed this video.